Hello guys, you are welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Agyapadie document, the much trending document on social media over the week. And this document was written in 2020, okay, during the second term of the President Nana Addo. And we have the Ochinhini here, we have JB Dankwa also there, and I think this is Nana Prempe, I guess. So I'll introduce you to the contents. These are the contents of the document. We will just read some part of it. We have the economic and then financial sector control, how that was going to be done. We have all of them here, phase 1, phase 2, banking, insurance, of course, capital and all of that. Of course, telecommunication is also here. Then we have the political terrain. So what should also happen in the party? They are also here. The party for Canada, Japan, Sami Oku, John Boadu, the Rollins Factor, and all of that, and other minor parties. Then we also go to religion and chieftaincy. We talk about Bishop Charles Adinasari, Sam Kranchip, so Mensa Otabel, and National Chief Imam. And then the last one is the national situation as regards the media landscape. We also take and look at that. So these are the, what do you call it? The content. Now, let's read a little of the foreword. Now, the foreword was written by former Finance Minister of Foreword. He says, to our future maid of the present and the unborn, for whom this will of a nation is being prepared, to our foremost king of Urupenyi, the progenies are spread across this world, for whom and to whom alone this sacred document is prepared. As the hair of Nana Apenin Kwaframa, Nana Kuntum Kunukun, the Ofuripenyi, our people were never defeated in the wars of old. We were nobody's subject, and yet after 1957, we were made to live in the shadows of the descendants of people who never defeated us in wars, whilst the Asante kingdom was uplifted to put us in the shade. In relatively recent times, the struggles and works of J.B. Dankwa to restore Ochiman to its original glory were thwarted, but he fought bravely to the end. With the arrival of Nana, we see the rebirth of a second J.B. Dankwa who has come to the rescue, fully cognizant that we are currently part of the modern nation Ghana, the name of which was originally proposed by the illustrious son of Ofori, Penny Fie of Ochiman, J.B. Dankwa, and aware that it is currently made up of other diverse peoples. We have to assert our old selves and ensure that we no longer continue to live in the shadows of other kings and people whose forebears were defeated in wars. In spite of our tremendous contribution to this Ghana entity, Ochiman has not been credited with the appropriate awe and grandeur that we rightly are deserved in recent times. Currently, with Nana in control of the whole entity of Ghana, we have a duty to ensure that we take over the commanding heights of the essential fabric of the country, in order that even in the event that Nana leaves the scene after the mandatory 8 years, the sons and daughters of Ochiman will be firmly secured, and such control both financially and economically that we can no longer be ignored in the battle to control the destiny of Ghana. To achieve, we need to appropriate the fundamental economic and financial levers which would guarantee such control in years to come. In doing this, we need to be strategic. we would have to work with other people from some of the diverse ethnic groups, including some carefully selected people in Asante and other diverse ethnicities or lands. This would make them believe that they also have a hand in the pie. It will obscure any suspicion that the project is essentially an Oforipenyin project. This point is crucial because with electoral politics, we have to have our eyes on the numbers in the electoral processes. We cannot be blunted until we are completely secure in the endeavor. It is especially so because so far, the Asantes constitute the single most populous ethnic group in the country. Although the Asante group within the current NPP is gearing itself to take over the party after Nane's tenure in 2024, it will be ideal if we could work to bypass them in 2024. With hard work, we could work to pass the mantle over to a non-Akan person, preferably from the north, under whose presidency we could secure the maturity of our takeover project. When we have finally captured the command and control sector of the country for our private use, we will then be in a better position to wield the necessary political and economic muscles to manage the destiny of this country under the reign of the House of Oforipenyin. To be specific, we need to strengthen our efforts to control the mineral resources as well as the electricity and water institutions. The success of this project depends on the way in which we, for the time being, control the judiciary and the press. We conclude with a word of caution: until we have secured the critical sectors under our control, we should minimize the danger of obvious acts of individual corruption in order not to alienate the rest of the population. We must focus on the ultimate goal. We must seek first the economic and financial levers, and all others will follow eventually. This was written by Ofori Atta as indicated in the Agyapadie deal. So this is the foreword to the book. Now let's take some excerpts from the book. We may not read all because it is about 30-page paper, but we read the most important part. Okay, so now that you know, of course, what is at stake, all that the Achim is saying is that per this, of course, document, they were the ones that, molded Ghana, but they have not been given that credit, and therefore they desire to get that, and that's what they are getting. So let's see the economic and then financial sector, how they seek to capture and control that area. We will skip this. So let's read the phase 1 of this economic, control. The first phase of the economic and financial sector control was to be implemented in Nane's first term of office. As we get closer to the end of the first term, we have set the ball rolling regarding the objectives set out in our first document. So there is a first document, and this is the second document. This document actually pertains to the second term of Nanado, which is from 2020 to from 2020 to 2024. Okay, so the first document was, I think, written somewhere in 2016 thereabout for the first term. So this is for the second term. There have been difficulties largely due to some pitfalls on our part. For example, the control of the electricity sector could have been handled better had it not been for the greed of some of the non-Achim elite we had included as cover. Again, the way some CSOs obtained vital information easily about the Agyapadie project has resulted in them wrong-footing us and emboldened the position to jump into the fray. We should, however, find some ingenious ways to overcome the opposition. So here, I think electricity, they are talking about PDS. You know that PDS did not happen. Okay. And then you also remember something like the Agyapadie deal, right? Which also did not happen. Changes in the leadership of most supervisory institutions, particularly the Central Bank and Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has allowed for other blueprints to be implemented. For example, the financial sector cleanup successfully eliminated most banks with hostile ownerships. So the cleanup had already happened. the cleanup took place in 2016, between 2016 and 2020, the first term. So that was included in the first document. So now this is the second one. They are only adding on to the fact that, yeah, that was very successful. Good. Now, Data Bank Financial Service has been playing the role of transaction advisor in major government deals, while the enterprise group is the main insurer of government assets. Our international proxies are also playing their part in accordance with our broad objectives. The insertion of Kelny KVG into the telecommunication space and the implementation of Unipass at Ghana's key entry ports are other notable successes of Phase 1. So I'm sure these were all measures that they talked about in Phase 1, and they have been implemented successfully, and they are just talking about it. The digitization of payment process through the implementation of the Ghana Quick Response Code is progressing steadily and is getting impetus from the desire of banks to entrench digital banking in response to COVID-19. The Agyapadie royalty special purpose vehicle implementation has been slowed by COVID-19, but is one that must not be allowed to fail. Good. Now, let's move on. It says notable setbacks occurred in the power sector as civil society and opposition NDC were able to galvanize enough public opinions against the renegotiated Amari deal and the Power Distribution Service PDS takeover of the Electricity Company of Ghana ECG. The takeover of Kotoka International Airport by the use of management agreement is also one that is facing considerably handwinds from the workers. The lessons learned from these must guide our execution of Phase 2 of the economic and financial sector agenda. These are vital assets that we must pursue in Phase 2. Our media and public relations wing must strategize to control the public discourse to ensure successful acquisition of these assets. So as I already indicated. Now let's take a look at the Phase 2. It says this stage is scheduled to commence from January 2021, given the high likelihood of Ghanaians giving Nana another term to govern this country. The phase will consolidate the gains made in the banking, insurance, and capital markets. It will also see to the taking of significant stakes in mining, oil and gas, telecommunication, as well as marine and aviation. The area of general manufacturing and commerce, which was not part of Phase 1, has been introduced here. So this is how they are going to also control the banking sector. So let's start with the banking sector. It says banking sector here. I think I didn't see anything that important here, but let's see. It says let's look at the Phase 2. Okay, let's read the banking sector. So it says MADA. So the MADA is the banking sector. So our control of the MADA is essential to control the industry. So far as the head of the MADA and his first deputy are strongly aligned to our cause, they are from our compound and we perceive no threat from these two. The second deputy appeases the gender advocates and is also not a source of discomfort. In this vein, there is no need to change in those places. It is, however, noted that the head is likely to reach retirement age before the end of Phase 2. In that situation, the first deputy would have to be supported to take over. Replacement of the first deputy in such circumstances will not be by promoting the second deputy into the role of the first. Rather, a strong Bawumia loyalist should be appointed to the role to further strengthen the Bawumia political cause. This is in line with protecting the legacy of Nana. Could enable us to sidestep and further alienate the Kufuor faction. So this was written in 2020, even before Bawumia was chosen as a flag bearer, but they had in mind that there was a Bawumia for political cause. Good. Now let's look at the biological children of these banks. These are banks in which we should have controlling interest. The collapse of local banks with ties to the opposition NDC and other rival political parties during the cleanup operations undertaken by the MADA was a resounding success. It facilitated the flow of substantial financial resources into our war fund through backflow of some of the advertised cleanup costs. The NDC has been poor in coherently and consistently demanding detailed accountability and audit of the funds spent. The process further led to the establishment of Consolidated Bank Ghana (CBG), currently a wholly owned government of Ghana bank, and our proxies are well placed to take a controlling interest when the bank is eventually returned to private ownership. So they have in mind to also privatize CBG. Now it says the Ghana Amalgamated Trust received 800 million from government to ensure that ADB, a Prudential Bank, Universal Merchant Bank, NIB, Omnibisec Bank were able to meet the minimum capital requirements set out by the Bank of Ghana. These banks are either government banks, ADB and NIB, in the main, have friendly ownerships. That notwithstanding, our local and international partners are ready and able to take over government stake arising from the 800 million injection. The takeover of CBG and the acquisition of significant equity holding in the GAT-assisted banks represented our strategy for direct play in the commercial banking space in the country. As a result of our hold on these banks, two goals will be met, namely direct financial contribution in the form of dividends, and secondly, the granting of funding support to our designated local businesses. So I think we can halt on here. Let's move on to APSA, formerly Barclays. Okay, it says the management of this bank is largely aligned, and Antoinette Kofi, who is the director of finance, is fully behind our project. This explains her presence on the board of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. In the event that the position of managing director of the institution becomes vacant, hopefully with Nana still in power, diplomatic channels to Pretoria should be utilized in support of Antoinette ascending to the role. The substantial flow of government business to the bank since Nana came to power should continue to keep the bank on our side. So they are looking at banks and how it should happen. Now let's take a look at EcoBank. We should have two routes of entry into this institution. First, through SNET, which has a seat on the board of EcoBank Ghana by virtue of its shareholding. That seat is occupied by the Director General of SNET. In phase 2 of our agenda, Kofi Bosompem Osafo-Manfo, who is a Deputy Director General of SNET, should be made the Director General to give him the seat on the EcoBank board. Secondly, the wife of Ace Akomia is the group head of commercial banking and a member of the executive management of the EcoBank Group. Our intelligence is that both the role of Group CEO and Managing Director of EcoBank Ghana will become vacant in the next 2 to 3 years. Nana has been advised to use all diplomatic avenues to support Ace and Commerce wife to fill one of these impending vacancies. Then we have CBG. Then we also have Stanbic Bank, how they can take or they can get entry to these banks. It says Zenith Bank, this Nigerian bank will play ball as long as Nana is in power, with control over political power, and the bank will align. Good. So this is the total assets. These are the banks, I guess, and these are the total assets of these banks. So let's jump. It's quite interesting, right? Now let's look at the insurance space. It says the current team at the helm of the National Insurance Commission, especially the Insurance Commissioner, is well aligned and so far has worked effectively in furtherance of our objectives. This has underscored a clear understanding of the loyalty to Nana and our broader political objectives. So long as they continue in this vein, there will be no need to change at the helm. I think we don't have anything here. Let's look at the biological trading of the insurance company. The enterprise group is the dominant leader of the insurance industry, and its position has strongly enhanced since the coming into power of the NPP government in 2017. There is really no need to aggressively pursue direct acquisition of additional insurance companies. The phase 2 strategy for continuous control include the following: continue to push major government insurance deal to enterprise insurance, sponsor elections of candidates to executive positions of key labor unions such as NAT, ANAGRAT, UTAG, TUTAG, and GMA, so they can influence the appointment of Enterprise Trustee and Enterprise Investment Limited as trustees or fund managers of the Tier 2, Tier 3 pension funds of those labor unions. And don't forget, Enterprise is owned by Ken Oforiatta, I guess. There is no strategy. Okay, so let's forget this one. And now let's look at the capital market. Compatriot Ogbame Tete is doing a fantastic job heading the Security and Exchange Commission. Just like the banking sector, the cleanup leading to the revocation of licenses of several funds and asset management companies was a success despite legal challenges from a handful of defunct entities in this place. Papa Kwesi Indum's Black Shield for capital is causing a few troubles, but he can easily be dealt with using our numerical advantage in the judiciary, or even his doji for relationship with the CIA. Leadership of SEC is one of our key allies and require no changes at all. One of the 11 board members, 10 are either directly appointed by the government or representative of government institution. Hence, things will be under our control. That's phase 2. Now, let's look at here. They talk about data bank. Data bank is also has something to do with Oforiatta, and then we have the we talk about the adopted children and all of that. We also have this. Now, let's take a look at this interesting thing on mining. Mining, as well as oil, gas strategies, constitute a major plank of our blueprint for controlling the extraction of natural resources, which God has generously bestowed on Ghana, particularly the Achim land. Growing environmental factors are rendering risky our use of illegal small-scale mining. That's Galamsey as a source of financing our political objectives. There is therefore the need to roll out a more rigorous legal means of controlling significant stake in the legal gold value chain. To this end, a cursory look at the approved concessions should be looked at. Asante Bediatu is to lead the process to take over these concessions detailed below and consolidate them into the extended Egyapa incorporated in JC. So these banks, these, as you have seen them, Asante Bediatu is to ensure that these galamseyers who are into the small-scale mining should be taken over and consolidated into the Egyapa, I guess. Wow, so all these are the miners that should, because, so yeah, as you see them there, there are a lot of them, the BNE, Joaboso, Pristia, all these small-scale mining should be taken over by Asante Bediatu. Okay, of course, we also have Talansi and stuff like that. Now, let's take a look at the next one. It says, I don't think we can talk about this. Okay, so the technology level further. Okay, so let's come to the telecommunication. All right, let's come to telecommunication. It says we currently do not have much foothold in this sector. The critical role that the telecom companies play in the lives and economic fortunes of this country requires us to make a strong entity into the sector. The successful planting of Kelni KVG into the telecom sector has given us unparalleled advantage in terms of having a view of activity flow within sector and ability to monitor for communication of persons of our chosen. The intelligence gathering power allows us to target and eliminate any potential threat from within the NPP, particularly those not inherently loyal to our cause and NANAS, which include members of the opposition NDC. Our sister in charge of the ministry responsible for this sector is doing remarkably well, especially her confrontation with MTN Ghana, resulting in administrative measures aimed at curtailing the businesses of MTN. And this is the Minister for Communication. From 2021, legislations will need to be introduced to break up the business of MTN using national security and antitrust reasons as justification. Our lawyer allies will then be enabled to occupy the space to be ceded by MTN. Such entry will yield a significant strategic advantage over our competitors. Now, let's take a look at the party. It says, let's take a look at the party. I don't think there is any much important here when you talk about the party. They said something about Kennedy Agyapadie. He says a very good asset. The party must, as a matter of fact and plausibility, defend him going into the 2020 election. He has the utmost control over our action troopers and all the former criminal elements who are prepared for the final push. In addition to this deep pocket, his financing of the grassroots affirms our dire need of him at all costs in the 2020 election. So they have also written something about him over here, which you can pause and continue reading. Let me come to Sami Oku. It says, okay, let's read something about Sami Oku. It says, Sami is a very good material with excellent political prospect. His loyalty to Nana should be acknowledged to encourage him to repeat his 2016 efforts to get into the grounds to mobilize the youth. It is imperative, however, to watch his rift with Kojo Opon Nkrumah. His loyalty beyond the term of Nana cannot be guaranteed. Hence, they need to go all out and prop up Kojo Opon Nkrumah in a subtle way. Okay, so it says, it may be instructive to prepare a piece of information regarding his encounters with the women, which appears to be in an excess in his case. Sami Oku. So it makes him vulnerable to blackmail as a national organizer and key campaign person. It is perhaps important to limit his access to the inner circle and condone him of gradually by introducing Mustafa Hamid during the final boots of the campaign. This will, in essence, shield Nana from any damage arising from a leak of Sami's, escapades. Now, a key point, however, is much dangerous flirtation with the Kufuor camp, an aspect which raises serious question regarding the need to contain him. So that's Sami Oku's also there. Now, let's look at John Boadu. Normally, I don't want to talk about these people. It says Sami Oku has alcohol addiction, and his weakness regarding women also makes him hugely vulnerable. That notwithstanding, he has a rare talent to churn out crazy ideas which yield beneficial outcomes. He should only be watched and shepherded to hand over to much more competent person post and all of that. And then we also have the Rollins factor also here. So these things, normally I'm not interested. Now, here, when you read, all that they say is that they also want to support the other political parties so that they sway votes, all right, over here. Now, in the field of religion, they also talked about some of the people, some of the religious people. He says, this issue notwithstanding, it's important to identify the profile of some church leaders within the country as they seem to perpetrate an agenda against our political tradition. They must be properly contained and muted. For critically, Duncan Williams, his love for money is not in doubt, and material inducement and commercial gains make him vulnerable to market incentives. This means that he has a good nose for the highest bidder. His relationship with leading members of the NDC is an open secret. It is therefore important to encourage EC to build a better relation and frequent his place as this correct, So you can read for yourself. This is about Bishop Charles Ajinasari. You can also read what they said about him. Sam Kranche, Ankara also there. Then Mensa Otabel is also here. So you can read this for yourself. And then the chief imams is also there. All right. I don't want to read some of them. I don't feel they are important. All right. So let's also talk about the media landscape. All right. Yes, I think the media is one of the things that I want to talk about. So the media and how we should take over the media. It says, so this is the phase one. We envisage that the role of Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah would continue to be crucial in our quest to dominate the Ghanaian media landscape. He was super when planted around some big weights of erstwhile Mills Mahama government. While at Joy FM, his secret recordings from the then ruling government illuminated our discussions and greatly influenced our strategy, which culminated in the landslide victory of 2016. No wonder that Gabi made every effort for the young man to be promoted to the office of a substantive information minister. This is more so when we could not vouch for the credibility and loyalty of Dr. Mustafa Hamid at a crucial time. He, Mustafa, was the longest-serving spokesperson of Nana, but we were shocked when Nana caught him stealing campaign cash in such critical opposition's era, where we were suffocating from inadequate resources to prosecute the campaign. So that's also quite interesting. It is now obvious that Mr. Nkrumah has an ultimate presidential ambition. We have a fiduciary duty to protect him and to ensure him of our support for the future. The support will get him to commit to the media capture agenda. It is satisfying that he has been part of our manifesto drafting from 2012 till now. In the next government, 2021 to 2024, Gabi has already convinced Nana to move Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah to the Communication Ministry to continue to clamp down on the opposition, as well as the not too friendly radio and television stations. He is already excited about this promise on two grounds. He will be deemed to remain one of the loyalists for the future. And also, secondly, that ministry has one of the richest, hence a conduit for him to increase his personal financial muscle for his presidential ambition. So that is that. Now, let me also read here for you. It says the role of Kweku Bakon, Paul Adomochire, Kwame Sefaka, and Obi of multimedia cannot be underestimated. It is for this reason that Nana nearly sacked Kandapa for delaying the release of their monthly allowance of 1 million Ghana cedis. Since the national security budget does not go through the normal scrutiny, this group has to be assured of an enhancement of their regular emoluments in our next government on condition that they work hard for our anticipated victory in December. Then we come to Esla Owusu. Now, it says we score Esla Owusu, who is the Minister of Communication, 70% for her execution of the agenda to close down pro-NDC radio and television stations, while we praise her for closing media entities such as Radio XYZ, for Capital Radio, Muntie FM, and many more. She scored somehow low marks in the implementation of the strategy. We expected her to leave Radio Gold from the list for obvious tactical reasons. She could have waived their debt like she has done for our friendly relations such as Ash FM in Kumasi. She could have been fired for the avoidable backlash in strategy, but for her long-standing roles as Nana protege. Now, it says also here that there is no doubt that Joy, 99 FM, and the multimedia will remain industry leaders in the communication spheres of the country, while relying on them as a veritable ally. Anti-NPP agenda by some of their staff does not portend well for us. We were left with no choice but to have used our voice to threaten Manasseh Azuri Wuni, while his publication in the past inured to our political benefit. He has overstretched himself in his attempt to assume an air of neutrality. He was influential to our historic victory, but his constant attack on government culminating into the militia documentary was most unfortunate. Now, elaborate support for the media. Now, lessons born out of Manasseh debacle cannot be glossed over. It proved that we cannot overly rely on a seemingly friendly media to take total control of the communication, blah, blah, blah. So the NCA waives we offered for the Kent City media and other party affiliates with the alliances must continue. Okay, so that is that. Now it says we have to issue receipts covering the next 10 years as being payment of post-paid renewals. Wow. So in 2021, let's start. Ken will present a comprehensive list of other radio stations that must be recruited into this fold. Okay. But we must issue a receipt covering the next 10 years. So Professor Adair has already received instruction from Nana to give tax waivers to the media entities that will be submitted to him. Of course, Kojo Opongroma is already making sure that about 90% of them was. This is interesting, right? Then also reserving the economic frequencies to true party faithful. So you can also read those ones for yourself, you know. Then also, let's take a look at this one. The supersonic rise of Angel Broadcasting Network. It appears our working at disabling AIB, GN Media, and other ongoing efforts to do same with multimedia won't be the end of the struggle. The increasing growth of Kweku Otin's media brand must be troubling. Gabi and Kendapa have already met Nana on the way forward in stopping the growing dominance of the ABN. The National Security has since dispatched officials to do a thorough forensic audit on all the businesses of Kweku Otin. In the event no adverse finding is discovered, we shall plant fake versions of his Adonko products on the market. We then have to use the same National Security and the FDA to arrest his production team in the full glare of the media, like we did to his Angel natural capsule, using our boys at FDA, even in opposition. People will stop buying his Adonko product, the major source of his wealth. Professor Adair has also been instructed by Kendapa to liaise with assigned national security operatives to spontaneously lock up almost all the ABM brands in the country. They are to accuse them of under-invoicing and cutting corners in payments of taxes. The broadcast companies would remain locked up for 3 months. This plan should be enough to completely halt the seeming dominance of ABN. Now let's come to Francisca Otin, also to be annexed on Parliament. There is no doubt that one reason that will make our fight against Kweku Otin is his daughter, who is the MP for Kwabri East. Nana nearly made her a deputy minister for youth and sport, largely due to her age and her father's influence, until the BNI report on her got to him. She seems to be pitching camps with Alan and ignorantly playing the Ashanti card. She will work against Dr. Baumia's bid after Nana. Although she lobbied for a deputy ministerial appointment, Nana only gave her the NYA board membership just to stop her father from complaining about his token for the 2016 campaign. Sami Oku, John Boadu, and Chema to me have been tasked to ensure that she is contested and also loses the 2024 parliamentary primary of the party. In her stead, the current presiding member of Kwabri East, George Opon, soon to be lawyer, or any other well-known Akufo-Addo supporter must be assisted to take over the seat by hook or crook. Then we have Kwame Sifakan and Paul Ochere's future. I'll jump some of them so you can read on your own, but let's start from, it says, the kitchen cabinet of Nana feels that while Paul is equally known, he has credibility issues to deal with, especially on the conundrum surrounding his withdrawal from the Ghana Law School. Settling on him for the future could create credibility for challenges for a ticket. In the next government, Nana will convince Sifakan to chair the NCA board. We believe that Paul is easily swayed by money, and hence, we cannot trust him and all of that. So you can also read that for yourself over there. Then also hijacking the GBC is also there. And then, let me see. The judiciary was also here. So it says, let's end with the judiciary. So considering the competitive nature of our works as politicians, there is always the need to step ahead against our opponents to secure our interest dominance in 2020 and the next 20 years. Our focus as a party has always been to position our members and sympathizers at strategic positions both in government and in the judiciary to cover and protect our interests. This has served us well over the period. All the appointments made to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and some of the high courts in Ghana under our government was to promote the NPP agenda and to ensure our country never falls into the hands of the NDC. So he says citizens may exercise popular participation in the administration of justice through the institution of public and customary tribunals and the jury and assessor system. The judicial power of Ghana shall be vested with the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the president nor parliament nor any organ or agents of the president or parliament shall have been given the final judicial power. He says the recent decision to exclude the use of birth certificate to prove one's citizenship during the 2020 voters registration exercise is a clear example of the agenda to prevent so many people from registering for this year's election, especially in our opponent strongholds. We had statistics to suggest that negative impact it will have for us had allowed it, for us if we have allowed it. All this was done to pave way for the resounding victory for the NPP and Nana in the 2020 elections. It is important that we maintain security we enjoy currently under the judicial system. It is imperative to observe that in recent times, most elections in Africa have been fraught with post-election legal challenges, Ghana, blah, 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 blah. As we become norm, our experience in 2030 should never happen again. We should never be in this situation, and the lesson should teach us a lot. Occasionally, it can be discovered that the courts have been instrumental in shaping the democracy in Ghana. So he says we have to make sure that even in the likely event that the NDC win the 2020 election, they do not get the chance to appoint more judges to the Supreme Court. Our control over the judiciary is important for our protection, even if we were to lose the election. So that's that. A lot of them over there, and it's just interesting. So you can read some for yourself. You can read some for yourself. All these are there. I think he said the 2020 election will not be easy for us with our current happenings. We need to sit up. Why are we so quiet on the Airbus scandal? Yes, we know we haven't found enough to indict Mahama, but a lot of Ghanaians were buying into our approach. Why have we stopped? It is time to go back to the drawing board. We must make sure we use the court system to help us damage the NDC beyond our repair. Let us start prosecuting people. That is why we put our people there. Otherwise, we have a plan. Bear in mind, this was written before the 2020 election. All right. So he says, so that is that. You can read the rest for yourself. Then international relations. So these are the much talked Agyapadie deal, but the documents here has been disputed, and we do not all right as a media channel that any of these are true. Of course, Ochenhene has disputed that the information in this document is a fiction. Fiction simply means an imaginary tale, all right, and that it is not true. So we can't ascertain whether the information in or contained here is true, all right, and we own no right to anything said in this information. We are only sticking to what is written there. Thank you for your time, and do not forget to share and like this video.